My name is Haruko Nozaki, 18 years old, and I am partially a vegetarian. I do not eat any meat, but I still eat some fish, so technically I am a pescatarian. I did not become a vegetarian because of any religious reasons or medical reasons, and certainly not at my own will. In addition, it is quite recently that I had become a vegetarian, and it's only been a year or two from when I used to be a meat eater. My favorite food at the time was steak, and I loved eating meat. This all had changed when my parents and sister became a vegetarian. They had become a vegetarian because of their individual and unique reasons, but I decided not to change. I liked eating meat, and whenever I had the opportunity, I would eat meat outside my house. However, there was a time when I hadn't eaten any meat for about 6 months or so, and I ate this hamburger. The meat seemed to smell of blood, and it made me really sick. From then on, I started to eat less and less meat, and I eventually became a vegetarian. When I would go and eat with my friends, I would order maybe a salad and some potato fries, but not any meat. And people would often ask me, "Why are you a vegetarian?" And I would realize that I didn't have much of an answer. And so I started to look for some justifications in my action because the only change that I had recognized through my change from a meat eater to a vegetarian was that I became even skinnier. I wanted to recognize not the physical change, but some other change that have greater value. Through external research and some close examination of myself, I led to some concrete conclusions that carried some knowledge issues. First, I looked at natural science. I researched on the production of the meat that is sold in our supermarket. We would have to look at this problem in two perspectives. First of all, in the scope of global warming, production of meat is a major concern. However, modern agriculture requires a lot of fuel, and the major consumer of this fuel are the animals, including cows, sheep, pigs, and chicken. A groundbreaking 2006 United Nations report found that raising animals for food generates more greenhouse gases than all the cars and trucks in the world combined. This is because of their manure, burp, deforestation for space, and burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are burned in the production of their food and creating warmth in their buildings. We are also aware that the world population is growing, and it is estimated that in 2100 the population would reach 10 billion. This would mean that more livestock would be required and more greenhouse gases would be produced. This would be a threatening situation. And speaking of the growing world population, we will have to consider the problem of starvation. The second perspective is starvation. As we all know, millions of people are starving in the world, and it is thought that the situation could get worse with the growing population due to the lack of food. The simplest solution would be to stop eating meat. Statistics say that 15 to 20 pounds of food are used in order to make 1 pound of food, and that land used to feed one meat eater could feed 20 vegetarians. Now, knowing these facts, is it now unethical to eat meat? If we just choose to keep on eating meat, are we simply ignorant? Every time you eat that meat, more and more people starve. Another statistics say that if just 10% of the American population stops eating meat, there will be enough food to feed the 16 million people who are starving to death each year. Though it may be a hard decision, it could help those who are starving, help reduce greenhouse gases, and prepare us for the future. Now I would like to talk about ignorance. Ignorance, in my opinion, is in our human nature. It gives us comfort and lets us escape from sorrow. However, I think it is what makes this world chaotic. The very mindset that thinks, to what extent does my action, a single action out of billions, make any difference, is what stops us from changing. What I am most concerned about is the human science and ethics in regards to being a vegetarian. I remember one time watching the news. This serial killer said, "Why can't I kill humans when I can kill snails?" Though I was about 10 or so at the time, the statement made me think deeply. I found this serial killer's statement rather logical in a way, and I wondered if I would be able to convince this serial killer to not kill any humans. And it made me think more. In the first place, why is it okay to kill those cows, chickens, and pigs you eat? How are they different from us? Of course, they are different species, they have different appearance, and they certainly taste better. I own a dog, and so I know that animals have feelings and senses. Some animals have the intelligence of a 2-year-old and can communicate amongst each other. For instance, a project called Coco tested a gorilla's intelligence, and it turned out that the gorilla had an IQ of 70 to 90, in which 100 is considered normal for a normal human. Human science says that what separates us from an animal is that we have self-recognition while animals don't. Then are we allowed to kill anything who does not recognize themselves or does not pass the mirror test? Or is it a matter of intelligence? Perhaps it is a human superiority over the animals in which the conquerors, us humans, takes an advantage over the conquered, the animals. Those animals are born to simply fill up our stomach, and they are treated just like machines, machines that create meat. Is it really ethical to treat life that way? Ignorant people would say, "I am not the one who is killing those animals." A common trait in serial killers is that they often start killing animals before they kill humans. And from this fact, we can say that the evil grows through the act of killing. Then to what extent is our ignorance in letting others do the killing unethical as those serial killers who actually take the deed into their own hands? This ignorance, however, is not something you adopt, but something you're born with. Soon after we are born, our mothers feed us meat, and we are unaware that a life was taken from an animal, and nor can we grasp the value of life. But when we are old enough to realize this reality, we still decide to keep on eating meat. We could say that at this point, one of our major human ignorance starts. We could say that one of the major human ignorance starts at this point. The superiority over the conquered, the justification of certain killings, and human dignity. I think that this is where the core of human ignorance lies. When I changed from a meat eater to a vegetarian, the act to kill has become something very distant, and the word kill has become something. When I changed from a meat eater to a vegetarian, the act to kill has become something very distant, and the word kill has become something taboo, unacceptable in all circumstances. It is rather easy to be ignorant nowadays, because that meat comes in a pack, or as a form of a hamburger, because it is rather easy to be ignorant nowadays, because that meat comes in a pack, or as a form of a hamburger, all good and ready to go. You, the consumer, is not directly involved in the act of killing, but because you demand that meat, the killing occurs. Though I had not become a vegetarian willingly, now I feel strongly towards it, and I always question myself regards to that. Now that you are aware of some of the ethical implications in regards to not eating meat, I hope that you question these knowledge issues yourself and not become ignorant.